Welcome to That Card Collectors Podcast with your host, Ian Taylor.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Oh, flipping thing. Hang on a minute. It defaults to looping it. Let me turn this off. Turn it off. Stop. Right.
That's right. The theme
That
song
was
is
embarrassing.
good. You've got to play it
start
twice.
over.
We're coming in hot today.
No, you know what? Warts and all, they can suck it. It's not like they're paying for it. I mean, the video people can eventually pay for it and see me scrabbling to stop it in a rather panicked manner. Anyway, welcome to That Card Collectors Podcast. Joining me this week, we have Josh.
What it is?
One of these days, you'll have to tell me what it is. Jason.
Hello.
And Eugene Hu is joining us. I'm thrilled. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me. Excited.
Oh, it's always a treat to have you on, quite frankly.
We've had a 2-year gap, 3-year gap. I don't remember.
I think it's 2 years because you didn't go to the National last year. Am I correct?
Didn't go to the National last year. Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Is that because you wouldn't be seen dead in Cleveland, but by chance?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. You could. There's no way you can convince me to spend money to fly to Cleveland and get a hotel, and then be in a room with a bunch of dudes that don't use deodorant. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Well, to be honest with you, I think from what I've heard of the National last year in Cleveland, I think they really struggled with the volume of people. So I think you dodged a bullet there.
Yeah. So I've heard.
But anyway, so Eugene, for those who don't know, Eugene has been on this podcast's first season a couple of times before, usually at this time of the year. Hot foot from experiencing the National, what's the full title? The National Sports Card Collectors Show? Convention. Sports Card Convention. There we go. And so the first time you came on, it was just after Atlanta, I believe. Is that right?
First time, Atlantic City.
Atlanta, yeah. What did I say? Atlanta.
Yeah, very different places.
Yeah, they are very different places. Yeah, right. Atlantic City. I knew it had something to do. Oh, forget it. So Atlantic City, and then you came on after the following year after Chicago.
Correct.
Right. Okay. There we go. So, for anyone who wants to listen to those episodes, they are available on the podcast app of your choice or on YouTube. But to be honest with you, I'll probably just pop links in the comments, although I always say that and I always forget. It's always good to kind of hear your thoughts on what's going on in the hobby, both Marvel cards and elsewhere, off the back of experiencing the National. But this year, I got to experience the National myself for the first time and meet you, of course, which was one of the highlights, frankly.
Likewise.
I think it was bonkers, but you've obviously been to them before. But how would you rate, as someone who has been to them before, what were your thoughts on this year's National compared to ones that you've been to before?
I think this was probably the most busy National I've ever seen. Okay. In my opinion, I walked into the National and I thought, wow, the hobby is still alive. We are back. And seeing that, I was like, I'm so excited for this week. I can't wait to see what's on the floor. And it was a lot to see, and but it felt a little bit like this is pretty much the same as the previous years. In fact, it might have regressed a little. Not in terms of quantity, not in terms of quality, but in terms of range. I think when I was at the National last, which was 2 years ago, I could find a lot of non-sport cards on the floor. In fact, not just Marvel. Like there was Star Wars, there was Pokemon, and Magic the Gathering, and even stuff like F1. This time around, from what I saw, there was a lot of high end, and I mean a lot, and it makes sense. whether we're in a high-end sports card bull market or we're in a bubble, we're definitely seeing it. I think like the Jordan and Kobe Bryant exquisite logo man last night sold for a record 12.9 million, which is the highest for any trading card in the history of
Good Lord.
this world.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's not a surprise to me that right now there's a ton of interest in sports high end, which is what you saw on the floor. That being said, considering how hot, Topps, Chrome, and Mint has been on the secondary market, I expected to see more of it at the show, and I saw virtually none. And I literally saw nothing from Upper Deck except a handful of cards. I could probably count it on both hands. So it was a sight to behold, but like I said, I felt like culturally it regressed. And I this is coming off the heels of me going to Fanatics Fest earlier this year, which I think will become the culture card convention of the future. I think I went both years for Fanatics Fest. In the first year, I thought, okay, this is a little rough around the edges. I'm not sure who would be coming back. Second year, they pulled out all the stops. They sectioned the card area kind of by category, so you can walk through like the sports, and then you can walk through like the non-sports. It felt like there was a rhythm and flow.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Which is what, like, I get it. For the national, you want it to be scattered, so you feel like you need to come multiple days. You feel like you didn't see it all. But for a lot of people, even like myself, like you don't have that much time to spend at the show. Some people like might be zipping right after work and want to get like 1 or 2 hours in. And if that's the case, you want to make the show, accessible. You want to make sure it flows. You want to make sure you feel like you saw everything. Otherwise, you're just like, oh, I couldn't, I wasn't able to shop. And that's what Fanatics Fest did really well, in my opinion, which is they made it conducive to shopping. Like they had celebrities, whether it was with their marketing budget, who knows what the reality was, but they're walking up and down aisles, spending at other people's booths. Optically, it's great. If I saw, my sports hero or celebrity hero buying cards, I might be like a certain percentage more interested, right? I'd be like, hey, what are they buying? Maybe what are they doing that I don't understand? So yeah, I'm excited for the future of the hobby. The National Sports Card Show, I think is going. I'm not sure if I'll be back, at least for non-sport, because it's skewing so much more towards sports, and that's fine. That might be the lane that they're moving into. Fanatics Fest is covering both, and I see, especially since they have the Star Wars and Marvel license, I see them growing that sector. If anyone was to compete with it, it should be Comic-Con, but they're kind of dinosaurs over there too. Hopefully, they see the opportunity.
So that's interesting. Can I ask you a question about Fanatics Fest? Is it just Topps Fanatics product?
No, so that's a common misconception. Topps Fanatics as a company has many different verticals. Obviously, they have like they started with the sports apparel, and you can almost call it fan apparel at this point. But they also have, in addition to Fanatics trading cards, they have Fanatic Collects, which is PWCC previously. So it was previously an auction platform. So via Fanatics Collects, they do a great job of showcasing cards throughout every single publisher, because you're an auction house. You're not going to be like, hey, we're only going to auction Fanatics products. Like it's if you go to like Fanatics Collects to see the breakers, they break all sorts of product, not just Fanatics. So I think that's a common misconception, and we, no matter what people feel about Michael Rubin or Topps or Fanatics, and I'm a fan of Rubin. I think he's like a straight up gangster. Like he is someone I would want to learn business from. I think they are incentivized to grow non-sport. So I'm excited to see how that space shapes out. But something I've said in MCCW, the Facebook group, publishers and brands, they can only shape the course of the hobby based on feedback from collectors, right? Like the leadership at these brands are not necessarily collectors. They're not necessarily, at least, like, they're not a common man collector, right? Like, they might collect high end, or like, they might buy cases and stuff. But like, who are the collectors that are, the kids? Who are the collectors that are just starting? Who are the collectors that are, buying singles or entering breaks where they can? You need to take all of this into account, because that's the hobby experience now. When we were kids, ripping, packs, not even boxes, ripping packs from like a Kmart or from like a supermarket / deli, like, that was what drew us back to cards as an adult, because of that joy and euphoria that we experienced as adolescents. And now that experience, whether we agree with it or not, is on camera, right? Like, a lot of these kids, I just saw some I saw some maybe it was a Facebook post about how, like, some 13-year-old spent $70,000 on his father's credit card, and the father didn't know, breaking on whatnot.
Oh, geez. Oh my
Love
God.
But in reality,
Did you see a return?
no, he got destroyed, and
Oh, okay.
apparently the father's like reaching out to breakers saying, "I need to refund this." But
Oh, wow.
again, awful story, hilarious story, but that's the reality of what's
Where we're
happening in
at.
the hobby, right? Like, kids are entering the hobby through breaking on camera. Kids are feeling that sense of entertainment on camera, right? Like, there's nothing more exciting than having a crowd cheer you on. Whether you're a singer, whether you are a Broadway actor, whether you are an athlete. Now anyone can feel that kind of euphoria while joining a break, and it's intoxicating. I get it. So this is this is the shape of the hobby moving forward. Now, how do we make sure that the hobby still stays pure to some extent, where we are focused on collecting? That requires education. That requires feedback from seasoned collectors. That requires feedback from collectors that are participating in the hobby. And like the brands need to listen, right? Because like that will determine whether there's an exodus, or whether you have to focus on just the new collectors. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here, but we are in a pivotal stage of the hobby, in my opinion.
So I find that really interesting, actually. That hadn't really occurred to me. So, consumption of the hobby is often through living vicariously and watching other people's streams, content, whatever. So I'm thinking back to when I was growing up. We literally had, well, I think we started out with 3 television channels, then it became 4. But that's it. You didn't have satellite, you didn't have internet, you didn't have, well, certainly not in the UK, you didn't have cable. That was it. And if you couldn't find what you wanted to watch on those 4 channels, tough. But now people can choose to watch any channel, be it a YouTube channel, be it a whatnot channel, be it a Instagram, whatever it is, multiple places for you to get content. And so from what you said, I think it hadn't occurred to me that people are actually choosing to either not watch Good Housewives of New York or whatever the program is, just as an example, and instead they're watching a YouTube feed, or they're watching a whatnot feed. And that's kind of a penny drop moment for me, because it hadn't occurred to me that was a kind of a, okay, I've got free time to watch something. I'm not going to watch telly. I'm going to watch this. And I think that could be a generational thing for me. I don't know, but it's that's interesting for me, because I only have so much time to watch the very little I can watch because of life.
Yeah, I think it's hugely generational, right?
That's interesting. Yeah, it has to be. Yeah.
Like I know, I work in brand marketing, right? And I have to stay on top of what's going on in youth culture. And I remember I was abroad a year ago, and I was speaking to people, and they're like, "Hey, you don't have a YouTube TV account?" I was like, "What are you talking about? Like what?" Like, they had both the YouTube TV and YouTube account. Like they're paying for the premium. I was like, I already pay for like Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and all this other stuff. It's like, why would I add YouTube and YouTube TV? And they're like, oh, we don't have any of that. We just have YouTube. And I'm like, what's the point? Like, you can't sit through the ads. They're like, no, we don't want to sit through the ads because all my consumption is on YouTube. They're like, I'm Googling National Geographic type stuff on YouTube. I'm watching like TV dramas on YouTube. I'm like, yo, this is so different.
Absolutely.
They're like, oh, my kids are watching other streamers on YouTube or Twitch. They're like, they're not watching, any cable television at all. And that's when it hit me. Like, we're in a generation of instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The path to travel is right from the search engine to a YouTube video to content.
Yeah.
Well, I remember reading a stat recently that YouTube, I say recently, it's about 3 years ago. This may have changed now, but at the time, YouTube was the second largest search engine.
Wow.
So,
wow, that's actually shocking to me.
Yeah, no, I mean that was 3 years ago, so that might have changed yet. But no, I did some digital marketing training, and it was in that.
Yeah, there's so much content on YouTube right now that and you can watch it on your TV. Like I watched yesterday afternoon, watched Amanda and Ian's Friday night, Saturday morning show on my TV while.
Bless you, sir. Thank you.
But yeah, there's so much stuff. And my niece and nephew, they're primarily what they watch is they'll just go on YouTube and watch YouTube shorts, or they've got certain content, or they even know my nephew would be trying to figure something out. He goes right to YouTube and finds a video on how to do it. So I don't know if they're learning it in school or what, but YouTube is.
My daughter does that. She watched YouTube videos about how to draw cats in an anime style. She loves it.
So this is so relevant to the hobby, and the reason why I say that is like, first of all, has anyone watched this season of South Park?
A little bit.
I haven't watched South Park since it started.
No, I haven't watched this season yet.
They're still delivering.
It is masterful in their way of addressing what's the right word? Current times,
cultural issues.
The current climate.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm not providing a political stance here at all. But when we talk about YouTube and the dissemination of information, we are probably dealing with the generation that, in my opinion, lacks critical thinking because of YouTube. Because you're basically in an echo chamber based on the content creators that are out there. There's no fact checking. There's no because if you're a content creator, unless you purposely allow it, you're probably not engaging with point of views that are strongly different from you. So we basically get into a place where, all our views about something are severely skewed. Now, why do I say this? I think a lot of the hobby has changed because of the content that's out there. Like yourselves included, like the things you guys say can shape. And I told you in this before. I was like, hey, I don't think you realize this is like, one or two. This is back when we did our first recordings. I was like, I don't think you realize the power you have. I don't think you realize how important you are to the hobby. I've said that before. And I mean it because there's only so many voices when it comes to non-sport hobby collecting. And, people often gravitate towards the loudest one in the room. And that, whether it's fair or unfair becomes gospel, right?
Sure.
So yeah, like this just goes back to what I was saying about the publishers. Like, I do hope, I do hope the publishers, the car publishers like Topps, Upper Deck, they have both Marvel and DC. Like they have to listen to the community at some point and realize that, hey, it make a decision, right? It's like, hey, either I'm okay losing existing collectors, and I'm going to focus on growing new ones, or how do I ensure that the hobby stays on a sustainable path where as many people can be involved as possible?
I love that concept of sustainability
Yes.
with regards to the hobby. Well, whatever the IP may be, but let's think of it in because sports. I don't think sports cards are going anywhere necessarily. How they're consumed, and although was I reading something about there's a massive gap in the NFL license for some reason.
Yes, that's a very big issue, and I don't want to get into that today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's not get into that. But
Eugene,
aside from that, sports cards are not going anywhere anytime soon. But there's obviously been a lot of churn, for want of a better word, in terms of the non-sports IPs over the last few years, which is kind of led us to where we are now. But yeah, the sustainability of it, I think sports, by virtue of what it is, especially in America, is very much a cultural, one would almost say tribal thing when it
Oh, yeah.
comes to team loyalty, and you see that with soccer clubs in the UK. I mean, you're born into it. You're literally born into it. You have people. There's a reason why soccer clubs sell baby grows with the logos on. Because it's like literally like man and boy. So I think
Correct me if I'm sorry. If someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe sports cards, especially baseball, is like the birth of trading cards. Like,
absolutely.
I'm pretty sure baseball is. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it started with baseball. Yeah.
100%.
right. So, you know, and I see this often in in non-sports trading cards, especially in Marvel, and people are like, "Well, I don't give a damn about sports cards. I don't give a damn what happens there." But that's wrong because
Failing to see the whole spectrum.
because culturally it stems from sports trading cards, right? Like
Yes.
the reason why we collect, whether we agree with it or not, starts with that culture that began with,
Well, yeah. Well, the format and concept came from there.
yeah, yeah.
That's its kind of breeding grounds. What I find fascinating about you know what? I started speaking before the thought had formed, so I'm going to stop speaking
Oh,
for a moment.
I got one for you, Eugene. When
Yeah.
you were speaking about nationals and what you spoke to was interesting to me as far as seeing the scale of the non-sports kind of follow what's going on with sports being a lot of high end, being a lot of the content that you saw there. So with Fanatics Fest having a big potential here moving forward, how do you think they, or what are some of your ideas towards them preventing that in the future for Fanatics Fest and other festivals to keep it a broad spectrum of, entry level and mid level?
It's funny. One of the things I often say is I hate working for free, but I guess I will do so right now for Tops. For Fanatics Fest, I actually met Michael Rubin earlier this year. It was at a trade night in New York, and I was invited by a store, Montesey in New York, fantastic store. They said, "Hey, Michael Rubin's going to be here. I would love if you come, and I'd love to introduce you to him, since they know I'm passionate about Marvel cards." So I met with Ruben. I showed him, some of the, grails for my collection. He was genuinely surprised and pleased. I think he even took a photo with them. And then I asked him, I was like, "Hey, what's the plans to grow Marvel cards?" And I guess that's just like friend BA stuff, so I can't mention it here. But then I asked, "Hey, are you going to have Marvel cards at Fanatics Fest?" And what he said surprised me. He said, "Not this time." And I was like, "So it's part of the plans." He said, "It's part of the plans." And that's step one, right? Like acknowledging that, hey, we missed it this time, but it is something we're going to do moving forward. I think that's something that's so basic, but at the same time so important, because you realize, yes, I missed this opportunity, and that's the key for non-sports, right? Because we have seen the birth and rise of sports cards to the point where, like I said, that Jordan and Kobe logo man sold for 12.9 million last night. I don't think we've seen a non-sport card come anywhere close. And people can say, original art, comic art has hit those highs, but that's not trading cards. It's a very different sector.
Right. Much as I think people would like you to believe they've come that close, they haven't.
Yeah, but like the reason why trading cards are a thing is that there's a gambling slash unpredictability aspect to the trading cards.
Mhm.
You have to, first of all, like take a chance to open packs and boxes in order to get trading cards, right? And then in the realm of sports, performance matters.
Yeah.
Performance of players, right? And the realm of non-sport, it's a little more gray. It's more about popularity. It's more about like um presence in culture.
Yeah, relevance in the
Very
MCU.
much presence in culture. Yeah.
Yep. Where
Yeah,
their character is in the MCU and stuff is a huge.
I would say it has an impact. I don't know about huge because like Ant-Man is in the MCU and we probably haven't seen his cards grow a lot, right?
True.
But at the same time,
Grow
Iron
being the
Man
operative word, but yes.
Iron Man was probably closer to like a C/B tier hero. But you know, after MCU, like Tony Stark made Iron Man a thing.
Oh yeah,
Right.
I mean Downey
Yeah,
Jr. The
absolutely.
top
Yeah.
end Downey Jr. cards are some of the
Mhm.
most
Yeah.
valuable MCU cards there are. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
different thing. Whereas comic art, forget it.
Just coming back to sports and non-sport, like my friend Tyler at V Friends, one of his most popular sayings is, you know, Charizard doesn't tear an ACL, and that's why he collects Pokemon cards. And I think it's a great line. I love it. And Tyler's man. If you guys want to learn more about the V Friends business, I think he's a great person to chat with. But yeah, like I think it's a great line because while it's true, there's a flip side to it. With sports cards, players retire, players
Mhm.
pass away,
Mhm.
players become no longer accessible. So because of that, sports cards, in my opinion, have a higher high when it comes to the secondary market to non-sport cards. Non-sport cards become about importance of culture and rarity or perception of rarity. But unless you know a publisher loses the right to do so, they don't stop printing cards, right? So that's the difference. Like characters don't necessarily die compared to you know athletes. Like Pikachu, Spider-Man, Batman are not going to suddenly
Have
stop
off
being
the
printed.
field, yeah, or have off the field issues or change teams.
Yeah, or off the field, you know, performances that transcend time.
Affect the value greatly and all this
Right.
stuff. Yeah, it is.
So
There's
yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Like I think to that extent, you know, non-sport cards are different. And instead of drawing like one-to-one parallels of how the hobby should grow, you need to treat it as a separate thing. And that's what I would tell publishers. That's what I would tell the upper decks and the tops of the world. That you know, specifically in the case of Fanatics, hey, you're going to have Fanatics Fest and you're going to grow non-sport, but you do have to know that Marvel and Star Wars operates differently from the sports licenses, and and have a very different demographic. So,
Mhm.
hey, Josh, to answer your question, I think that's how you prevent it from, you know, being so narrow and instead growing the whole field.
I think the crossover there comes with the distribution, because the distribution, obviously, the biggest change in Marvel cards in the last year is the proliferation. Is probably the best word of that whatnot broadcast breaker scene, which is very much embedded with products that come from Fanatics. So the kind of the distribution, the publication, what's the word? The marketing of them is kind of done. You know, a lot of that marketing and promotion is done by third parties in much more of a way than I think it was for Upper Deck and other IPs necessarily. But going back to the point we were talking about before, I think the other thing that over the last 6 years of doing this podcast, I've seen sports cards leech a lot. Leech is the wrong word. Permeate over to Marvel and other non-sports more, and that's partly because the manufacturers are. The designs are coming over, so there's designs that I hadn't seen in Marvel cards and didn't know exist, but I didn't realize how
Hmm.
well established they were, like High Gloss, Outburst,
Hmm. Hmm.
Dazzlers, those sorts of
Mhm.
things. So, do you remember the old adage, probably, you know, as true as recently as maybe 20, 30, certainly 40, 50 years ago, that if you were an actor, you either worked in film or you worked in TV. And it was
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
seen as a step down
Mhm.
if you were going to go to TV from film.
Mhm.
Now that barrier is permeable. So in terms of the production of the card and the designs, I mean, I think we're already kind of seeing it with Chrome and some of those brands that are now crossing, sports to non-sports, and we have seen it in the latter days of Marvel cards with Upper Deck. But I mean, my feeling is we're going to see that more. And that's going to be a big awareness thing. There's going to be new stuff that's visible to people in the non-sport side.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've mentioned it before. I've been in um, cards a very long time, but I've been in modern Marvel cards since 2020, um, right before the pandemic. And in that short amount of time, so 5 years, we've seen highs and lows in Marvel cards, right? And in that specific sector, whenever there's a high, yes, there's content creators and excitement and hype and pump going on, but a lot of it gravitates towards sports parallels or sports card designs that were passed over to Marvel cards. And especially in the case of Upper Deck as a publisher, it was Fleer and Skybox designs from the 90s done by Arena Design, which are some of the most coveted 90s basketball cards,
Beautiful.
like EX Entry, like Precious Metal Gems, like Jambalayas, etc. Exquisite. All of this, all of these experience, euphoria highs, and the reason why is because, whether we hate to say it or not, is because it's easy to translate for sports collectors. And people are like, "Oh, well, there's no like importance to design." Yes, there is. When the current, owner slash president of PSA, um, like they were the one that Nat Turner was the one that made the Michael Jordan PMG green the card that it is today by paying record sum at auction and um, cementing it as like a true hobby, a truly important card in the hobby.
Icon. Yeah.
Yeah, like had always been a niche market towards certain designs of cards, and I think you still see that in Marvel cards today. Like there's cards that are appreciated by certain collectors. There's cards that are speculated more by certain collectors. But at the end of the day, right now in non-sports cards, nothing is really transcending due to the lack of information. And I think if you listen to my first episode on the podcast, I had mentioned before, Marvel card information, and in this case, non-sport card information, is so fragmented. Education is so fragmented, and I think publishers kind of intentionally make it that way. But it is our duty as collectors, in my opinion, and it is the duty of people who create content because they're providing education. It is on everyone in this hobby to really learn as much as possible in order for it to transcend. So, in my opinion, like Marvel cards is a decade early. What you're seeing right now in the market with Pops, Chrome, and Mint, that's the tip of the iceberg, right? Like you're seeing an influx of new collectors, or should I say, new spenders in the market that are discovering Marvel cards and thinking, "Hey, super fractors are the grails of the hobby," and I don't know, but at the same time, I don't know anything else that has been printed before. I was in another Marvel group's they like their Facebook chat, the community chat the other day, and they posted a 2008 Marvel Masterpieces card, and they're like, "Oh, this die cut Iron Man is like so rare," and someone commented, "I've never seen that card before. I've never seen that set before." Sorry, and I was like, I was shocked, and I rarely chat in there. I was like, "You've never seen 2008 Masterpieces?" And he was like, "No, I just got back into the hobby this year." So I didn't even light him up. I was just like, oh, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's like, I could have been like really sarcastic or like negative and be like, how the F do you not know what the set is? But the reality is they just haven't had the opportunity. They haven't had the education about it. I don't
Right.
think I've ever seen a video talk about that set. Despite how beautiful it is, despite how many amazing sketches come out of that set. I think Ian, I think one of my first time seeing that set was when Ian posted it in group. But this is all about the collector's journey, right? And I think that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing an influx of new collectors that haven't experienced that journey yet, and they're just starting. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
So speaking of the collector's journey, information the publisher should take, and you mentioned the younger generation collecting cards. My nephew started several years ago with Pokemon. He moved to football. Was big into football cards because we live in the South and we're in a big college football town. But now he's all in on baseball. He's been buying Top Series 1 and 2 at Target. He, like a lot of the other kids, he watches breaks. He probably talks to his friends at school. And you know how kids are at school. They'll say, I have the most expensive card, or some kind of lore or something pops up. But he watches breaks and he sees me collecting, and he's got a little bit of that pack opening itis like I do, which it is a gamble when opening cards. So he likes opening packs, and he knows that he should be looking at singles when he gets to a certain point. But how do you temper expectations? Because I mean, I wanted him to keep collecting. I know his mom and dad are tired of seeing baseball cards all over the house, but how do you foster that collecting attitude, but yet kind of temper expectations? Because he kind of thinks he's going to hit it big, and I'm trying to say, well, a box from Target, your odds are low that you're going to hit some kind of big card. But
Yeah.
so it's one of
Jason,
those things. Yeah.
It's a fantastic question. And I guess I'll give away one of my hobby secrets. One of the secrets to collecting, in my opinion, if you're going to, be in this long term, is to be able to do math. I would say first thing I would do is have your kid, have your nephew focus on multiplication table and arithmetic, because it's a lot about pack odds, right? It's about understanding rarity. It's about being able to compare one basket to another. When I first started collecting, not when I first started collecting, but when I started spending more in sports cards, one of the reasons why I was able to do well in terms of ROI on my portfolio, and again, it wasn't investing, but it was like understanding where to place my money. I understood rarity, and I started focusing on niche cards that weren't being appreciated by the horde. So like maybe there's a consensus of like, oh, these cards are so good and so rare, and like I need to have them. But like, one, trust your gut on design. You should, at the end of the day, you need to like what you collect, because if you don't enjoy owning it, I am sure every single person here has gotten rid of a card because it's no longer important to them. And so that's step one. Step two is like understanding how rare a card actually is, and then two, being able to compare apples to oranges is such a difficult skill. Like I see Topps playing cards right now, from the new minted set, which Josh just delightfully educated me, are Gambit's trading cards, hence the pink/fuchsia design. To show his kinetic energy. Those cards have out of 99 serial numbers. And those cards are selling for exponentially more
Absolutely. Great point.
selling for exponentially more than rarer cards in other sets. and even more than out of 99 cards in Marvel
Yes.
Masterpieces, which is like the exquisite for
The
parallel.
Grail.
It's the flagship set of Marvel trading cards.
Thank you.
So this is why do I say this, Jason? Like this, the math here has to make sense.
Right.
Like, why would I pay? I'm not going to say names or characters, but why would I say pay like $1,800 for a Topps playing card out of 99? As much as I love the card, when there are equally rare cards from a more important set, in my opinion, at 25% of that price. That means I would rather buy more copies of the other card, the cheaper card, and wait for the scales to shift. Right? And
Right.
that is a skill that takes a lot of time. You have to experience loss, you have to experience pain of like buying too early, you have to experience loss of selling too early. And that goes back to the collector journey, right? Like there was a post at MCW recently saying like, post your first sketch card. I think posted by Isidore. And like post your first sketch card that got you on your journey. And I was thinking about it. I was like, damn, I wish I kept my first sketch card. Because looking back on it, I got ripped off on it. And that's not because like, yes, someone took advantage of me, but at the same time, that's on me for not knowing better. Not knowing that, hey, this artist only created this amount of sketches for this set. These nuances and information, like it's a skill. So that's the advice I would give to your nephew, to younger collectors. Learn how to do math.
Yeah.
Learn how to like form your own opinion and trust your gut, and not just always listen to what everyone else says. Don't even, if I'm telling you, hey, this set is so important, maybe take it with a grain of salt. Maybe like try to figure out why I said that. Maybe I'm wrong.
What I find there's an interesting analogy
Thank
there. Bookies, horse racing.
Okay.
So if you're gonna bet, going back to the gambling aspect that we've talked about, trading cards, they offer you that kind of adrenaline, not adrenaline. What's that thing you get when you get pleasure in your brain?
It's adrenaline.
Endorphins. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Those.
I think it's dopamine.
It's probably one of those. We're
call it
all
the
agreeing
juice.
that you feel something good when you open a card that you really like. So, and if you're going to bet on a horse, now some people do this, but most people, it's more so with horse racing, I find, is people do say, right, okay, how many races has he won? They study the form a little bit before they put their money down, and so even people who've got gambling addictions know to do that. So it kind of equates to me on that. If you're gonna be putting your money down on the table, because you might have a flutter on the horses and it might be $50 or whatever, but it might be $500. Now, if you're spending $500 on a box of anything sealed, you should probably study the form a little bit. So that's good advice.
Yeah, I like that. I like that metaphor.
We'll go with it.
Yeah.
We'll go with it. So, all that being said, we've talked a lot about the way that Fanatics and Topps are focusing. Someone's buzzing away. What's that?
Landscapers.
Background. Is that landscape? Is that you? Is it right? Okay. At least it's not me. So, which is obviously a very Topps Fanatics thing, but we do still have Upper Deck with the DC license,
Which I'm so excited for.
Yeah, and I think we're at the very cusp of things there, and I'll equate that to. We've seen maybe less than a handful of DC sets so far from Upper Deck, and we are a year in. That's because these sets take time, and I think the same has to be. I think Topps are now starting to get in gear, but we've still not seen that many sets from them either, because it takes time to get these things moving, and especially if you're going to be doing any sets with original art, that's a considerable time commitment in advance. So, aside from the stuff we know about, where do you see Upper Deck and their products, DC and other products, kind of, I don't want to say keeping pace. I don't think they're getting left behind because they've got something very special with EPAC,
Yeah.
which is a different beast. And a lot of people who've kind of been looking at the Marvel license movie and going, "Damn, I wish Topps had EPAC," because it's working for them. So where do we see DC and some of the kind of future of Upper Deck going? And, speculation mode here, I guess, is where do we think they're going to go? What things do we think we wish they'd do, or we think they should do?
So I consult and advise for Upper Deck. So I'm going to be speaking a touch more slow and deliberate here to make sure I don't violate any NDAs. I need to think about like what has
Understood.
been revealed to the public and what I can talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You and I were at National, and obviously we spent time with Upper Deck, and I love them as a publisher. I love Gene from Arena and the designs that they're implementing there. I love their product designers, and I think the world of DC. Jim Lee, in my opinion, is one of the most important people in culture. Period. And I love that. I personally love Batman as an IP. Fun fact: Batman Beyond Terry McGinnis half Asian, so I gravitate towards him as well. But my point here is that not my point, but like I think we are in for a lot of great designs with Upper Deck, because I think they can learn from what was successful in the Marvel license. I think they can learn from what failed in the Marvel license, and they're getting a head start on seeing how the marketplace is changing. Right? They're seeing, oh, people are willing to spend X on Topps Minted right now with this box build out, where it's like one high end card in one pack. To me, that means you have new spenders in the space who have an appetite for that product. So now, if I'm DC Cards, if I'm Upper Deck, and this has nothing to do with conversations I've had with them, I now have the knowledge of saying, hey, I can make a high end product with this type of box build because people are accepting to it. Now, what Upper Deck needs to be careful is they need to see what's not working, especially what they've done in the past that have like irritated collectors, and really correct course of that. You need to make sure your marketing is much better than before, right? Like I think we talked about it earlier, like the Flare Midnight cards, beautiful, stunning cards that have a similar treatment to
Gorgeous.
Panini Kabooms, and should have a rightful place on the Mount Rushmore of Upper Deck trading cards, but no one knows about it because the EPAC scans for these cards were so, for lack of better words, horrible that you couldn't see the treatment. Now, had marketing hammered this a little more, showing, previewing the effect, having designers talk about it, when a collector pulls a card, maybe highlight the fact that they pulled it, et cetera, et cetera. Like, how do you get that community engagement so they're excited about your product?
Yeah,
I think that's something that Upper Deck didn't do well in the past, and could definitely learn from, because Topps does that really well. They do a really great job of getting the community involved and make you feel like you are part of the hobby.
Yeah, they elevate their advocates is probably the best way to think about that. Is
That's a nice way to say
it. User generated content, but making that part of your mix. They have started to get better at that. The case in point, and because Amanda and I have been all over it for the past 3 months, is the Matrix set. I think very early on, maybe week 2, week 3, they did a live Twitch and they showed the PMGs that you get at the end of it, and they had them in hand. so you could see them, and they look absolutely. I mean, they're so dark you can barely see any definition between character and background on the scans. But in real life, they're vibrant, and I'm excited, and that made me want to stay in for the. I mean, I was in there anyway. I was sold, but that kept me going for the remaining 7 weeks of the run, knowing how good the prize was. So I think it's important to show those off. Absolutely.
Yes, but like, in you have an X amount of followers, right? And that means your reach is a Y amount. It's that reach is different than the publisher's reach.
Oh, of course.
That reach,
Yeah.
and that reach is different from a celebrity's reach. So all of this has to be what's the right word? It has to be all in the same vehicle. That way, your product and hobby will move together, right? I think Topps does such a great job of like highlighting, oh, this card was pulled by this breaker. And no matter what you feel about breakers, that is very engaging. People will say, oh, wow, that card was hit, or, oh, wow, this breaker has no idea what the hell it just pulled. Whether that's positive or negative, that is engagement. And hey, you go watch the recent South Park episodes. Engagement creates a lot of movement in culture.
Is ridiculously. It's the most vital stat. I remember that from various things we've done at work. So it's important, and I think if you're a lone voice saying that, it doesn't have as much impact. But everyone's got to be kind of pulling in the same direction.
It's the Coliseum, right?
Yeah,
it's about getting the Coliseum excited. Like, if you look at your product as a fighter in the ring, like it's all about how to get the crowd to cheer for you.
This is entertainment.
Yeah. Yes. And I think people need to be cognizant of that.
Right.
So with DC, I'm a fan so far. I've enjoyed. I'm a DC fan. Comic books wise, but do you think that how do you see as far as folks coming in? Like, a lot of people came in from Marvel. Marvel's got a lot of popular characters from the MCU. With DC, do you see more folks coming on board with DC, or people that were on EPAC buying Marvel? Do you see people staying on board for DC? I agree that the designs, I feel that with Annual, they took what they did with the last one and improved it with the DC. And the Fleer Brilliant Superman is, I've been having fun with it. But do you see people either sticking around or coming in for DC cards? Because it seems like, to me, a lot of people, as far as DC begins and ends, as Batman.
Amazing point. Because I like DC a lot, but my world in DC stems from Batman. And it stems from Batman because of the animated series.
Yep.
It stems from Batman because of the movies. But those were also the only DC comics that I personally read. Right. So, but now I'm having this joy of like discovering new characters. And again, this is about the collector journey. I know Superman's world to an extent, but like, I didn't know about Crypto, the dog, until the Superman movie. And I'm like, wow, this character's freaking awesome. Or I didn't know about who's a guy from the Lantern Corps. And I'm like, this is a fantastic character. And that's only because I watched the movie. Right. But after I watched the movie, I was like, hey, I want to read more comics about Guy. I'm the casual here. When it comes to DC, I am the casual. I'm not saying that like I'm a DC Comics savant at all. I'm discovering this just like with everyone else. Now, how do I stay engaged and want to collect DC cards? One, you're going to need some momentum with the product, and it's going to take time. Like they have launched Annual and Brilliance, and hopefully rolling into Batman Metal, we'll start to see some momentum. They have talked about Fleet Ultra Superman, so I can mention that. When Fleet Ultra Superman releases, there should be traction there as well. And then they mentioned DC masterpieces as well, which I can't speak about the timeline there, but like that is going to be a big deal for DC cards. I see Josh's eyes about to like pop out of his.
Yeah,
but
that's the right idea.
That's a big deal. Like, because now you have introduced the upper echelon product for DC cards. And that's, in my opinion, is going to be an inflection point, similar to how Marvel Masterpieces 2016 was an inflection point for Marvel cards.
Right.
Because in DC, you didn't have this high-end product before from any publisher. Like, yes, technically you did from Cryptozoic, but it's like that was lost amongst the crowd, right? Again, this comes back to education and marketing as well.
Right.
So do I see people sticking around or there's it growing? I definitely see it growing because, like, when you are such a small piece of the pie, you have a much easier opportunity to grow.
Right.
Whether they can sustain it, that's a different conversation. But like, hey, it has, in my opinion, has nowhere to go but up. But in order for it to go up and sustain that, you need to again focus on releasing good product, on marketing, on storytelling, on engaging with the community. Now, the people on EPAC, for better or worse, they spend, but they're gamblers, right?
Right.
So I would say over 50% of people on EPAC are gamblers. And there's no data for that, but it's just from my personal experience on there. When I'm on EPAC, I'm pretty much gambling myself.
Yes, I gambled this morning, so yes.
But how do
I gambled
you?
just now while you were talking.
That's a matter of fact.
That's degenerate. But it's like, how do you make that into a culture?
Right.
And that's like showing up at cons. That's like, being at releasing exclusive product at San Diego Comic-Con that makes people want to line up and collect your product. And they're doing that. But how do you touch other pockets of culture? And that's what I would challenge Upper Deck and DC to do. And they'll get there, in my opinion. I have full faith in that design team and leadership there. Like Jason himself is an actual collector. Like the president of Upper Deck is an actual collector. And I think that makes a huge difference.
Yes,
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would like to see DC, grow in a more healthy and organic way. Like, don't be in a rush to basically be this hype machine. Like, understand the timing for it. Understand when is the time to go. But in the meantime, educate people about your products. People don't even know it exists.
right.
Yeah.
Right? Like the first pack pulled DC 1-of-1s just released, and no one knows it exists for DC Annual, the purples. Like, to me, that's odd. To me, like, if you told me the first, what's a character, what's a athlete that's coming up? Oh, if you told me in 2018 the first Shohei Ohtani cards are releasing, I'm going to be paying attention. When the best prospect in the world is going to be on trading cards, and their 1-of-1s are going to be releasing, or their cards in general are releasing, I'm going to be genuinely excited. But that hasn't existed yet for DC. And you got to start asking yourself why. It's not based on design. The design is great. In fact, the art selection for DC Annual is incredible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I really like Brilliance as well. I really like it.
Yeah.
You want to know something funny about Brilliance? Yeah, that's beautiful. Was that the 24 karat?
No, this is the Powered by the Sun Gold.
Oh yeah, so sorry. It's called the 24. It's called Powered by the Sun Gold, but I believe in the past that was 24 karat in Fleer basketball.
Okay.
And that has a niche, but respected collector base. There's a lot of people who collect 24 karat Brilliance basketball. Now that hasn't translated over for DC.
Interesting.
Right. With such a big IP.
Was a huge IP. We're talking about Superman on the heels of a great movie. In my opinion, that movie was nice. See, I didn't even know that card existed.
This is the Pulsar variant.
Can you move that closer? Yeah, see,
So we're
like,
looking at a World of Metropolis Lex Luthor here, folks. For
Yeah,
those
and
on
it's
audio.
oh yeah, sorry, World of Metropolis. Like I said, this is a Pulsar variant.
so
One in
Jason, because
100
you
packs. Yeah.
because you're able to show that card in different angles, I'm able to see the way the light hits on that card.
Hmm.
On a scan, I
Right.
that looks like just any other, flat printed card. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I wouldn't be able to
Doesn't
see the beautiful treatment that's on it.
right. Doesn't do it justice.
No,
Yeah.
and that the brilliant set, even the base cards and all the way through, they really leaned into their rainbow foiling on those cards. And just looking at a scan, you don't know that until you open that pack and look at it yourself. But yeah,
So
they're fun cards.
here's a funny thing about rarity. And this is true even in sports cards. Like, you can have a junk wax set, meaning like it's a high print run. But like that high print run might have, high end cards like one of
Mhm.
ones, and people are like, "Oh, one of ones are one of ones. There's only one that's printed." But it's so much harder to pull it out of a junk wax set, right? There's so much more product you have to go through
Yeah,
in
yeah.
order to find those cards, and this
Needle in
comes
a
down to
haystack,
math.
literally.
Yeah, it's a needle. It's much more difficult. Like in a product like Marvel Masterpieces or Topps Mint, like the build is set up for it to have high end cards in general, which is why those boxes are higher. But in a set like Brilliance, which is only pretty much released it in Blaster/Megas, I don't know what the pack code is.
Yeah, it's retail only.
Yeah, retail only. Like, it is so difficult to pull the one of ones in that set. In fact, some might never see the light of day because who knows where that product is.
And a lot of
Like,
people store it and hold on to it unopened.
or they're just in some like random town and sitting in a Target or Walmart.
And you know
And
what?
no one's opening it.
Here's a little education. So this leans into your education point a little bit, because I've just finished, literally arrived with Donnie in America over the weekend. The Marvel Studios Series 1 and 2 had green Dazzlers that were exclusive to blasters. Jason,
Mhm.
you've seen them. They're
Oh
absolutely
yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah. I've
They're
got it.
really
Yeah.
nice. They're really nice. There are 30 Dazzlers in Series 1, 30 Dazzlers in Series 2. I've just got the last of all 60. So I focused
Oh,
on
wow,
those
congrats.
blaster exclusives. Yeah, it was Scarlet Witch from the Series 2 set. Obviously, character popularity, that was the most difficult one to find and afford. But that's an example of, if I tried to do that chase in 2 years when the product's like dried up and no one's touching it, or it's stuck in a stock room somewhere, it's like it's not going to happen. And I think I knew that was a chase I needed to do soon, because of the fact that I've kind of looked at it and gone, right, okay, the blaster stuff. Jason, you'll know this. You've gone after blaster stuff before, so yeah, it's a fair point that if you're going to be going after something retail, then you need to really kind of focus on that and get after it. But at the same time, if you don't know the sets out there,
Right.
speaking back to Eugene's point, then how are you going to know to look in the first place?
Mhm.
Becomes a bit of a vicious circle, catch-22, one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And with these retail sets, it depends on like I think the city and the market you're in, because
Big time.
where I am, I've mentioned this before. I've talked to the guy that stocks the Targets in town, and I've talked to Barnes and Noble. They don't know what they're getting as far as cards go. What they get is what they get. And yesterday I went to Target and they had 3 or 4 of the red DC annual, Superman Brilliant Target blasters, and they had 1 DC annual. And then Marvel Masterpieces XL is still sitting on the shelf.
For good
And
reason.
yeah. So anyway, there's that. I've only come across 1 Topps Chrome blaster in town. But but since 2023, I want to say, about once a year, I'll come across 3 or 4 Flare Ultra Avengers blasters just randomly show up at a Target.
So I think to your point, like it's a great point. It's about regionality. I live in New York City. I've there's not that many Targets to begin with, and I don't know of a single Walmart by me at all. But the few times that I've gone into a Target, there is never any card product. And I don't know if that has to do. And the one time I did find it, they say, "Oh, we have to go to the back to get it." And I was like, "Oh, why don't you put it out?" And it's just like, "Oh, it just gets stolen. It's an easy product to steal." And like my point here is, I have no accessibility to retail exclusive products at all, and I'm not complaining. That's just the lay of the land. But it also makes me more interested in opening it when I have the chance. So like I remember when Upper Deck released Marvel Platinum, and they had the retail boxes with the blue Surge exclusives, which are stunning, by the way. And they made it accessible on their website, on their website to buy. Like you were able to buy like 20 at a time.
That's right.
God bless Upper Deck for doing that. Because like again, this goes back to education and accessibility. Like people need to be able to open product if they're going to experience it.
Yes.
And it shouldn't just be e-pack. It shouldn't just be breakers. Like opening physical wax it's a joy. It's a feeling. There's again that dopamine associated with opening a pack and wondering what's inside.
Absolutely.
Or unlike at the National when we were opening Marvel Beginnings 2.1 packs like D-Gens in the foyer after they kicked us out. And everyone kept handing me their fucking Namor base cards.
Oh, yes. Oh, man.
You've not heard this story because we've not had a chance to have a catch-up yet. So these guys, apart from the...
I love it.
Apart from the Friday night, Saturday morning with Amanda, we've not really talked about the experience of going to the show. We'll save that for a future episode because otherwise we'll get into the weeds with it.
Here's a Namor card for you, Ian.
Great, thank you very much.
Stop
it! See,
I always
I'm
keep
being
one
trolled,
around for you,
Eugene. I'm being trolled.
Yeah.
Eugene's probably holding one up, but I can't see that because So
no comment.
All I know, Eugene could have changed into a Namor outfit and be cosplaying as Namor right now, and we wouldn't be able to see him. There's an image. Right, let's move on from that one. What else? Let me think. So, how do you think? I'm curious on this one, and we didn't kind of prep for this one, but I one of the interesting things I've seen in the last couple of years is the advent of grading via COMC. And that's, it seems to be very well established, PSA and CGC. Do you think that's going to kind of change anything, or is that just kind of done now, or do you think there's going to be any kind of further innovation in that space that we might want to kind of look at? Where would you like to see that go?
I think grading is in trouble. I think we're in a point where grading needs to evolve and needs to evolve quickly. Otherwise, there's a lot of problems with grading. Now, I won't say any names, and I won't say any brands, so I'm not liable for anything. But I personally know of a fake card that was graded recently, or a card that I think is probably 95% chance of being fake, and it was authenticated.
I think I'm aware of the one you're talking about.
And it was graded authentic by. It received a grade from one of the biggest graders.
One of the big three.
Now, how is that possible for a 5-figure card to be a 5-figure fake card to be graded by one of these big graders. Now, how do I think it needs to evolve? I think whoever can figure out AI grading, so computers have a consistent way of grading cards, is going to win. Do I think that's easy or possible? Oh, I think it's incredibly difficult. But I think whoever figures out unlocks $1 billion idea. Because you're going to be talking about the future leader of grading, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't know which brand is going to figure it out, or maybe the brand hasn't even shown the cards yet. They might not even exist yet. But whoever figures this out is going to win, because I think people are sick and tired of the objectivity involved when it comes to grading.
Inconsistency, I think,
Yeah,
is the word I'd use there.
it's the human element, right? It's like, and I love that we keep on going back to baseball, but if you watch baseball, people are sick and tired of the umpires. I'm tired of arguing balls and strikes on TV.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
there
the
should
same with
be
most sports. NFL has it. Soccer has that a lot in the UK. The ref was biased, the ref was this, the ref was that.
Yeah. Was it offsides, et cetera, et cetera? But it's like we are going to start to demand more and better, because like that just can't happen. And I think if you're going to be a company that takes pride in being the best at what you do, then you need to review your processes and ask what is going wrong.
Right.
Because you can say, oh, it's a mistake, but when it's a card that big,
How?
it should never happen when it's that big.
Right, on that big of a scale.
Yeah, right? Like,
how many are getting missed based on that same logic? If it's one that big that was missed, how many?
If a one of one is being missed,
how many
yeah,
lower tiers are being?
See, my feeling on that is, if it's a one of one, it should be treated in the same way. If you've got, doctors seek second opinions. They consult other professionals.
No. So what I know about high-end cards being graded is they have a different check process.
They do, right? Okay, this is good. This is new information.
So when a card is like at a certain value, they go through a different check process.
Wow. Okay.
Because there's someone at the end who is much higher up than everyone else that has final say on this.
A final boss, right? Okay.
Yeah. Well, because there's like liability involved, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You mess up grading a base card, okay, yeah, we'll fix it, or we can find you another one to replace. You mess up go ahead, Josh.
One of these should have been graded by like one of your Elite Four or something like that. One of your best of the best. And yeah, it is scary, because there's a price point that's down a level or two in the $50,000 to $100,000 market, and it makes me wonder how many of those were missed and things like that.
The scary part is, like, sure, maybe it's a 5-figure card now, but as we saw, and I love that's the third time I mentioned this Jordan Kobe logo man, but one day that could be a 7-figure, 8-figure card, right? And are you going to eat the bill then when it's discovered that it's fake?
Yeah, that's no good.
Right?
That's no good.
So it's like, in my opinion, for grading, it's in a troublesome spot. I think grading also relies on volume, and it also relies on people wanting to grade with you. So another thing that's problematic is, like, some brands, and I won't say which, may be incentivized to give out higher grades, so you shift towards them. If it's easier to grade with a company, like, you might be more inclined to grade with them. So for me, I think grading is troublesome. That's my point of view on it, and I probably don't have much else to say.
And yet, you've spoken volumes.
Josh, I could say the scanners is an element of it, like when you speak to AI grading, because you're talking about a consistent, it's a huge idea, and then probably the eventual future unavoidable, because you've got such a baseline that you can trust at that point. But what I've run into with a few people who do a large amount of scanning for what they consider high resolution scans and stuff. The market is very small on the ability to, on a high pixel count, to resolute a scan of a card that like AI could absorb at a high clip. The scanners, I'm sure are there. It's available. It's absolutely doable. But from a consumer base, if you're trying to purchase one of these scanners, when you get beyond the 35 PT mark, there are very few options for like high resolution, high speed scanning. So I know that probably has got to come, something's got to be done there.
Josh, to speak on that, it's like, cards get scanned, right? When they get graded.
Mhm.
If a card has been graded multiple times, I don't know that. I don't get to see in the database that serial 88 out of 99 has been graded like 5 times. Because people can crack it out of a slab and resubmit it. And I don't get to see the journey of this card. I don't get to see like, hey, it was once a PSA 9, then now it's a PSA 6. Oh, it became a PSA 8 again? How? Like we don't get that kind of visibility. When a card is graded, it's just goes through the protocol again. And I said PSA just because it's the in my opinion, the standard. But this applies to all companies. Now, how does that get resolved? I don't know. Maybe with blockchain technology where it's all transparent and people can access the database and see what's out there.
Yeah.
Maybe with AI grading, like we said, like where there's consistency to it, and they're like, hey, this card has been graded before. We're not grading it again.
Right.
Interesting.
So with grading, I haven't really delved into card grading too much. But with PSA or any of them, are graders notes available? So either something you pay for, or they provide it, where you see why it got that grade.
I've heard of it. I haven't graded in a very long time, so I wouldn't be able to provide you the right answer. From my understanding,
okay,
yeah, I think that's a new thing. And I think like CGC also provides comments on their books.
Yes, CGC. I believe that was you'd had, I think, paid extra. CBCS was a company I dealt with more, and they provided the notes for free. And just for the listeners, notes aren't like Dear Diary, this book looked like crap or whatever. It's
No,
real
it's
basic
reference
real
points
basic notes, like 3 ticks on the spine that break color or bent front cover.
Basically, their justification for the grade that it's got.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it is. But it's useful to know, like, if you miss something or why it,
what their thought process.
You thought it was a 9.8, it came back an 8.5.
I'll tell you this, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think a single company releases guidelines about how they grade. Like, oh, we need to see this in order to get a 10. Right? Like,
yeah, I don't.
I personally don't know of a single company that provides those guidelines. Like, oh, we reached a 10 because you hit this combination of metrics. There's no transparency to it.
Right. Because then they have to be held to those guidelines that they set.
Exactly. So for me, that's, and I would like to move on from this topic because it's not my my expertise, but this is very much how I feel about the problems of grading. Like,
yeah,
there's just like, you want to think this is the basis of how collecting should be, but we're so far away from what we want it to be.
Yeah.
Right? Like we don't. I personally don't have confidence when I buy a 10 that it's a 10. So, and a lot of seasoned collectors will tell you, buy the card, not the grade. There are some 9s that look better than 10s out there. I remember when one of the biggest purchases I ever made when I got back into the hobby was a Michael Jordan Scoring Kings PSA 10 card. At that time, I paid $2,500 for a card. The seller shipped it to me from Australia, a very veteran Michael Jordan collector, and I got lit up on this on Facebook, by the way. Like, people were destroying me. But when the card arrived, I saw white edge flaking on the card. And I'm like, hey, this is not a 10. Like, here you can see that it's not a 10. I would like a refund. I got blasted. They're like, a
Wow.
10 is a 10. A 10 is a 10. If you were a grader, if you have such great eyes, maybe you should become a grader. I was like, I'm not a grader, but I have vision. Like I can see, and
Yeah.
I can noticeably see white flaking. Now, that card ended up being refunded, and then it ended up in auction eventually. Oh, sorry, it wasn't refunded. I sold that card in PWCC for $4,000. So I made
Interesting.
a profit on a damage. It was selling this damage card, and then this card eventually resold later on for I believe $20,000. And I'm watching the trail of this card, and I'm like, yo, something is wrong with grading.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, we'll
absolutely.
move on from that then. We'll move on from that then. So, just to kind of circle us in towards landing a little bit, then, Eugene. So, Eugene, what does the next year look like for you, Eugene, in terms of events that you're definitely going to be attending, collection focus,
Oh,
things you think might be happening, or things you'd like to see happening? I mean, we've spoken a lot about things you'd like to see happening, but just generally speaking, what's your next year? Assuming we don't get you again for another year, what's your next year look like?
love this question. And your show has evolved from just being a Marvel card show. It's like a non-sport slash culture card show. Today, I might go to AnimeCon New York,
Okay.
and anime is just it's a powerhouse right now, right?
Mhm.
Like it is
Yeah, my
so
daughter loves it.
culturally big. Like I think I don't know if it's still true. Like K-pop Demon Hunters might still be the number one movie on Netflix right now.
It's all my daughter is talking about. Seriously, I've downloaded so many of the songs. I'm going to be watching it with her
I
tomorrow. All of her school class are talking about it.
yeah.
They're
Shout
9 and
out,
10-year-olds.
shout out to Kevin Wu. That's my friend. He's one of the Saja boys. But yeah,
Oh, okay.
I might go to AnimeCon today. Um, I'll go to New York Comic Con, and then I'll be looking forward to Fanatics Fest next year, or the next location they do it.
Oh, I was going to
Um,
ask you about that. Sorry to interrupt. About
yeah,
Fanatics. Is it a does it rotate locations?
I don't know their strategy now. The original strategy was, hey, we're gonna take this national, and then we're eventually going to take it global. But I think they needed to improve on the New York experience, which they did from year one to year two.
Okay.
So I don't know what their rollout is from here on out, but I would love to attend more of them because they do such a great job of getting talent involved. Like for
Okay.
example, there was a table that has Star Wars cards, and I'm not into Star Wars that much, but like one of my friends was asking me to keep an eye out for them, and I saw the cards, and I was like, "Hey, are these for sale?" And they're like, "We can't sell it today." I was like, "Wait, why? What do you mean?" And they're like, "Oh, we have talent, Star Wars talent coming to our table tomorrow." I was like, "Oh, sick!" Like you might have like like a Hayden Christensen or whatever like show up
Nice.
at your table. And I don't know who actually showed up, but I'm just saying like that's an awesome experience, man. It's like that makes me want to sell at Fanatics Fest.
Well, that's
Like,
Right.
cool.
right? Like, what if Toby
Mhm.
Maguire was walking around and it was like, "Oh, these are Spider-Man cards. You're a Spider-Man collector?" I'd geek out.
Oh, big time.
Oh, that would be yeah, Toby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have a chance. Here, take this card, please. It's on me. Like, here you go, buddy. Just good. We're good.
Yeah, but that goes back to what we were saying earlier about like hobby engagement. Like, I think that's the key to success. Like
Yeah.
those feelings cannot be replicated in anything else, whether whether it's alcohol, food, music, whatever. Like, there's nothing like
Yeah,
experience it.
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Eugene, where can people find you on Instagram? For those who don't know.
If you admire cards, you can follow me at Rare Air Collection. If you are interested in hobby business opportunities or want to acquire art from um, Tom Fleming or Ray Lago, you can follow me at Rare Air Collectibles. And if you want to follow my personal journey, you can follow me at eu.hu. And I think that's the first time I've ever said that here.
That is actually this is revelatory. Hashtag don't ask me where, because I've seen some of your posts. They just crack me up. Eugene, I can I just say I loved meeting you this year. I think it was long overdue. Um, we wish we'd had more time to hang out together, but we had a couple of Uber journeys, so that's not to be sniffed at. And we broke bread and shared dinner, and it was just wonderful seeing you like be in that space, and enjoying the national and hunting for stuff that you hunt. So, so yeah, so thank you. It was great to meet you, and thank you for making time to come on today, because I know that of all the episodes we've ever done of this, the ones with you on are very much referenced and looked forward to as well. And long may that continue. So thank you for
No,
being you.
no. The feeling's obviously mutual, and I think that's the beauty of the hobby, right? You get to meet people. I have the people I meet in the hobby and talk with in the hobby. I probably talk to more than some people I've known, for 20 plus years, man.
I
Like,
absolutely talk to
Yeah.
people in the hobby more than I talk to my family.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, but that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
at the same time, it's like you go through the highs and the lows of the hobby together,
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And I know we've referenced Journey many times in this podcast today, but it's very much true, right? Like
Mm.
the people you meet along the way really shape your hobby experience, good and bad.
Oh, absolutely. I
100%.
mean, my takeaway from the national, and we'll probably talk about it next weekend, guys, when we record. But my takeaway from the national was, the cards were great, but the people were better.
Yeah.
I
Very
met
well
so
put.
many people that I didn't expect to meet, actually, and collectors that were kind of peripheral to me, but I've now spent time with them, and they're like, they're friends. So, yeah, I think that's absolutely important. You've nailed it there. Was it Dave Palumbo once posted the real precious metal gems are the people you meet along the way? I
Well,
think
that just
that
made me sick in my mouth, but
it did, but he delivered it with a nod and a wink. So
Yeah.
I'll forgive him on that one.
and
And
I,
it
and I
was
love Dave Palumbo.
yeah.
I adore Dave Palumbo.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he did it at the time when all the drama was going on about
Oh yeah.
PMG. So he absolutely timed it. He came into the room, dropped a mic, and went out again. And that was his only comment on the subject. It was perfectly played. Bless him. Cool. Right, Eugene, I'm going to let you go. Although don't jump off straight away, because we'll have a little chat afterwards. Eugene, I did drop a little extra media asset into the things that I can play
Oh
during the show.
God.
And it only kind of but I'm gonna end us with this. Actually, I'm not gonna force you to say enjoy collecting, although you can if you wish to, because you've said it before. So worst case scenario, I could lift a sound clip from a previous show. But one thing I will say is people usually say thank you for coming to my TED talk. So this week we're going to say thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to our Eugene talk. And we'll end with this.
Let's fucking go!
I'm never letting go of that sound clip. I'm never letting go of that sound clip, Eugene.
The original hype Marvel breaker.
It is
Oh yeah.
absolutely. It's opened many an episode. It might even open this one. Anyway,
We got a hot
roll
box.
roll end credits.